maximize your potential. I'm Brian Sexton with a long-time Business Journal publisher in Jacksonville, Florida, David Sillick, now off onto new ventures, maximizing your potential every day. How are you?
I'm doing great, Brian.
Fantastic.
It's so good to see you again.
It's nice to see you, and you've brought us a tremendous guest today, Gary Frey, speaker, author, probably a podcaster, bold and bodacious with the shirt. Courage, Gary. Give us the background on the shirt. It could mean so many things. What does it mean right now?
Oh, man. Well, it takes a ton of courage to shine a light on all the stuff that you've kept hidden for a long time because you're a CEO that has 10,000 employees and has a high school education with 2 years of secretarial school. I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about a woman that I coached that had 10,000 employees and said, Gary, I don't know what I'm doing. And I said, why would you say that? And she said, I only have 2-year secretarial degree. And I said, well, Tana, and she's one of the best CEOs I've ever known. She said, I think that's imposter syndrome. And I realized at that point, pretty much every CEO that has confided in me that I've either coached, walked alongside, or worked for has suffered from this thing called imposter syndrome. And she had a lot of courage when she wrote this book, and she exposed stuff that she had kept hidden in her circle of the Women's Presidents Organization for a long time, like having a child out of wedlock at age 15, having the baby, getting married to the guy, getting beat up by this guy so badly that she's in the hospital, and then he abandons her and the baby. And she goes back to high school, finishes 2 years behind her graduating class, can only afford as a single parent to go to a secretarial school when she dreamed of college. And she built this juggernaut. Now it's got 12,000 employees. And to be able to put that in a book takes tremendous courage. And that's one of the things that does silence imposter syndrome. So I wrote this book on imposter syndrome with some really practical guides on how to silence it.
Where do people find that book? We're going to put this in our show notes, but where can people get that book? Because that's going to touch a lot of notes. Okay. Amazon.com
has every format available. So if you're a listener, you can listen to it on Audible. If you like Kindle, that's cool. It's on that as well. And then also, I like hard copies. So, and it's a fast read. It's not got any filler in it, no fluff, and it gets to the point. But it's a fun read. So,
I'll put it in my my list, my credits, my 1 credit a month.
Sounds great. Thank you,
Gary. Our careers and paths have intersected in so many different ways, really. Starting with, well, back at the very first iteration of bizjournals.com, you and I both worked for American City Business Journals, and you were at the forefront of that digital transformation, working with Ray Shaw as I did.
Yeah,
great man and mentor.
What an amazing guy.
You are now a business coach. I'm now a business coach in my retirement from American City.
Yeah.
You work with own a CPA firm. I consult with a CPA firm. It's interesting how the careers pass. But I'm curious. I've seen so much transition in the media business from the heydays of print to the formation of digital. You were right there. What did you see then, and what do you see now?
I see attention spans getting a whole lot shorter. That's for doggone sure. That's one thing. And I remember Ray saying local, 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 like that was our mantra. And it served us well, even though it kind of cut against the grain of everybody else, which was trying to be all things to all people or the biggest massive reach in the world. But I also think that hyper niching is here to stay. And the more valuable is, you think about it, we had the highest average household income for paid subscription, even above the Wall Street Journal, which Ray had been the chairman and vice chairman, I think, or chairman of
President Dow Jones
at the time. Yeah. President Dow Jones, there you go. And he'd been at Wall Street Journal. And so that was always very interesting to me. But, attention spans have definitely gotten shorter. Media has become less trusted overall because of narratives that one side or the other is pushing. A lot of times it's chasing ad dollars, I think. I don't know. Who knows why, but nonetheless. And so I think people are looking for their news from TikTok and other things, which that's kind of dangerous. But I think Ray was a pioneer back in the day, and I think, his wisdom still remains, which is have high integrity and focus on your own backyard, because nobody else is going to know it as well as you do. And so I thought there was a tremendous amount of wisdom there, and I think it continues to remain.
Yeah, they say all news is local, all politics are local, and I certainly can't disagree with that. It's been so fragmented, and the digital turned print dollars into dimes, maybe in our case quarters, but it really did transform the whole revenue mix of the industry. Speaking of numbers, you own a CPA firm that appeared to me to be delivery of services that are traditional to regional CPA firms, but a very different value proposition. Share that with us.
Yeah. So I look for differentiation. I'm not a CPA. You wouldn't want me to be a CPA, and I never thought in the world I would join a CPA, much less buy one or buy into one, be an owner. So I'm one of a few of us that are owners of this 90-person company. But I noticed that we were way different. And so I coined this term, anything but typical. And then my co-host and I started a podcast 5 years ago called the Anything But Typical Podcast, featuring the behind-the-scenes reels of entrepreneurs that were willing to talk about those behind-the-scenes reels and not just the show reels that you see on Instagram. Because humility is probably one of the most beautiful virtues that I know. And a lot of times CEOs and owners, it's the loneliest chair in the entire company. And so we launched that to serve them. And so the CPA firm doesn't necessarily own this. I mean, Ben and I started it with our own money, and we don't monetize it. But we look at things through a different lens, and through the lens of an owner, because 13 out of the 90 of us have started, run, or turned around companies using our money. So that's a very different model anyway. So we think differently. We want to help companies save money, make money, stay out of trouble, and have fun. And that's just not a positioning line. That's what we live by. That's what drives us. And so we look at things through that lens versus just compliance, checking boxes and that sort of thing. So, and I'm free to be who I am. Like, this is, I don't necessarily wear a Courage t-shirt every day, but I wear a t-shirt. I'm not wearing Brooks Brothers or, suits or anything like that. The people that we serve are business owners and privately held business owners, from typically kind of $5 million to well over $100 million a year companies, but people that really are the backbone of America. And that was something that Ray Shaw really believed in too at bizjournals.com and amcity.com, which was, it's privately held business, which is the economic engine of our country, which I'm super passionate about.
I have to tell you, Gary, this is the first edition of this new show, Maximize Your Potential, and you have fit the bill way beyond anything we could have asked for. Entrepreneur, speaker, author, podcaster, business owner, and a very courageous man, as we now know. Love the idea of doing your thing your way, whether that's a t-shirt that you wear on a podcast or the way that you just go about living your life. You're certainly maximizing your potential, and we appreciate the tips. Any specific spot? You gave us the name of the podcast. We'll get that in the show notes. We'll get the book in the show notes. Is there a website, anywhere else that people can find you?
Yeah, GaryDFry.com is my personal one for my speaking and the book and all that kind of stuff. And then my company is BGW, so you can find us at trustbgw.com.
We'll make sure that's in the notes. David, way to kick it off with a great guest.
Thank you. And Gary, so good to see you. It was great reconnecting. I wish you much continued success.
Thank you so much. This was fun.
Thank you. We certainly appreciate you joining us. First edition, off to a great start. The next guest has a high bar to meet
right.
for Maximize Your Potential. We'll see you next time.